All right, Frank, back for number 42 on your list. It is Alaska. Alaska is a 1996 family adventure film directed by Fraser C. Heston, son of one Charlton Heston. The film stars Thora Birch, Vincent Kartheiser, Dirk Benedict, Charlton Heston, Duncan Fraser, Gordon Tootoosis, and Ben Cardinal. This movie also has Don S. Davis in it, who Twin Peaks fans might recognize. The plot of Alaska is pretty basic. When their father's plane goes down in the Alaskan wilderness, a brother and sister team head out to try and track him down and just will not give up on the idea that he's alive. They come across some poachers who try everything that they can to make these kids who have witnessed their crimes disappear. Your thoughts on Alaska are? Literally just watch this. Tell me if you find the dad falling out of the plane unintentionally funny. I laughed my ass off. Also, the cinematography is terrible. So I don't think that the cinematography in the film is particularly terrible. It's not great by any means, but I think that a lot of these sort of films that are, targeted towards young adults, that are action adventure films where you have like a lot of setups and a lot of stunts and a lot of things, it's like they don't spend a lot of time on like trying to make the cinematography as good as possible. I do think Alaska looks beautiful in this, much like it did in The Edge, but I would say that The Edge has had much better cinematography in it, although The Edge probably had a much bigger budget too. I would guess that Alaska probably didn't have the money to spend the time on trying to make everything as beautiful as it possibly could be. So yeah, cinematography, but honestly, I thought the film overall was pretty good. Like, I was very surprised by this. If I'm being really honest with you, Frank, like, I was not looking forward to having to watch this movie. Alaska is not the kind of movie that's like in my wheelhouse. It feels like the kind of movie that maybe when I was like 10 or 12, I would have watched on a Saturday morning on TV and been like, oh, this is great or whatever. But as an adult, these sort of like young adult movies that are specifically made and directed towards young adults, they just don't really fly for me. But I was surprised at like how well the film was made from a technical standpoint. It's always moving. There's never a lull in this film at all. Like, it has, I don't want to say it has like perfect pacing, but the pacing is so good in it that even when something that's not particularly interesting is happening, it's just moving so steadily that you don't really get a chance to like think about that at all. So I thought that there was a great mixture of like action scenes, the parts where they're like, kayaking down whitewater kind of rapids, or, dealing with other wild animals, or like running from the poachers or whatever. And these sort of like more, brother-sister bonding scenes where it's like they're cooking, he's cooking dinner and she's like, you got to be ridiculous, you can't expect me to eat this, and she does eat it and it's actually pretty good, she actually likes it. I thought that the little baby polar bear, it was kind of cute, but at the same time, like, that was a little bit of a disconnect for me, where it's like some little baby polar bear is not gonna, it's not gonna just be like little roly-poly polar bear the whole time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe little baby polar bears are like super friendly. I don't know, but it seems like at some point in time that thing would have just like reared up and, done some damage. Again, could be wrong. I am not an expert on polar bears, so So I actually wrote some notes here. I've started taking some notes while I'm doing these because sometimes it's a couple of days or even a couple of weeks between the time that I watch these and I actually make these videos. So one of the things that I wrote on here was the kids' acting is not great, but the story is engaging enough that it's not bothersome. You know, it's kind of funny because Vincent Kartheiser and Thora Birch both went on to do much bigger things. You know, Thora Birch did Ghost World and a lot of other movies. I think I'm totally not looking this up right now. I need to look this up before I actually say anything, because it would be stupid not to. I think she retired for a period of time. Yeah, it looks like she's back now, but I think she retired for a period of time where she just was not making movies. Vincent Kartheiser obviously went on to do Mad Men. He was, and it's funny because he's much younger in Alaska than he is in Mad Men, obviously. But at the same time, it's like every time he opens his mouth, because he has like a very specific way of talking. I don't know what the word, what the scientific word is for that. Maybe like cadence or something. But he just has this way of talking. It's like every time he opens his mouth, it's a very Vincent Kartheiser. And it was the same way in Indian in the Cupboard too, which he's not in that much of, but it's like, that's Vincent Kartheiser. Like whenever he opens his mouth, you're like, that's Vincent Kartheiser. And every time he would get snippy in Alaska, all I could see was like Pete in his like, you know, nice pressed button-up suit, having just been, you know, taken down a peg by Don Draper or somebody else in the audience and just fuming. And it just made me laugh every time. To go back to the cinematography, I wrote in the majesty of Alaska helps a lot. And I think that that's not just for the cinematography. I think it's for the story too. I think if you had this movie in, say, the Rockies or the Smoky Mountains or something like that, like it would not be as interesting, because Alaska is just like naturally majestic and gorgeous and beautiful. And I think putting it in that setting just helps the movie be more interesting in a way. And one of the other things that I wrote down was it actually genuinely feels more like an action movie than it does like a kid's movie. And I think that helps it a lot. It is a kid's movie, or at least a young adult movie. Like I think that this film is definitely targeted towards like 10 to 13 year olds. Like that's the core audience right there. But at the same time, it's like, it is made like an action movie. And in that way, I was able to enjoy it as an adult. You know, it kind of sounds like you didn't. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but as an adult, I enjoyed this film. I might even watch it again. Like, I don't know, maybe. I think I would be willing to show maybe my niece this when she gets old enough. You know, she's not old enough right now, but when she gets old enough, I would be maybe like if we had like a little movie date or something, I could show her. I feel confident in showing her Alaska. So yeah, I liked it overall. I would recommend it for kids, definitely. If you are an adult who likes, you know, action adventure movies and is okay with kids being the main stars, you will probably like it, I think, hopefully. So next up on your list is number 43. It's another kids-oriented action adventure movie. It's Wild America, starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas of Home Improvement, JTT. And this is not the only JTT film on this list. So, methinks that somebody may have had a little JTT obsession when they were younger. It's you, Frank. It's you. Anyway, have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And I will see you in the next one.